We've all had an opportunity to review the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda or amend the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Dr. Harrison has moved and Dr. Sivak has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any nays? There being none, the motion is approved. Dr. Green, the Superintendent's Report.
All right, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, board members, to our JPS administrators and staff and parents and community members and all of those joining us this evening. We're going to begin with a video presentation with the latest district news and some of the important updates from our instructional television production team. We'll pause for the video.
Please mark your calendar for Lunch and Learn, what parents need to know about virtual learning. The event, with a focus on elementary, middle, and high schools, takes place August 5th through the 7th from 11 a.m. until 12:30 p.m. Please visit the JPS website to see our district calendar for a full description of the event and for virtual meeting information. The Jackson Public School District has made no official decision or announcement regarding the athletics and extracurricular activities for the fall semester. We are carefully reviewing all potential options and safety guidelines, as well as recommendations from local and state health officials as we consider whether to schedule sports, band, and other extracurricular activities in the fall. Please be assured that the health and safety of our students, staff, and families is our primary concern as we make these particularly important decisions. The Jim Hill High School football team will have a new look this season thanks to the new uniforms donated by NFL star Fred Brown. Brown, a 2012 graduate of Jim Hill and a wide receiver for the Denver Broncos, donated 70 jerseys to the team. Thank you, Fred Brown, for your generous donation. JPS appoints new principals for the upcoming school year. Sharon Terrell is the new principal at Chastain Middle School. She recently served as summer boost principal and assistant principal at Peoples Middle School. Terrell, a military veteran, also served 8 years in the United States Air Force as a combat communications radio operator. Harrison Michael, who previously served as principal at Chastain Middle School, will now lead Callaway High School as its new principal. Mr. Michael is a native of Jackson and attended JPS schools. He graduated with honors from Callaway High School. Dr. Eric Cook, who previously served as assistant principal at the Jackson Public Schools Career Development Center, will now lead the center as its new principal. Dr. Cook has served as an assistant principal and principal at the elementary school and high school levels in JPS for the past 16 years. His career began at the Mississippi School for the Deaf, where he taught high school mathematics for 8 years. Antonius Caldwell has served the JPS district as a mentor for new teachers as building administrator at Hardy Middle School and Forest Hill High School. He proudly returns to Jackson Public Schools as an administrative and instructional leader with nearly 2 decades of experience and dedication to student equity and success. He will lead the Henley Young Youth Court School as its new principal. JPS welcomes Daryl Jones as he returns to the district as the new director of JPS Athletics. Jones previously held school administrator and head coaching roles at 2 JPS high schools, where he led both teams to playoff competitions. 99 Jams radio personality Christiana Williams is this year's Summer Reading Ambassador for Jackson Public Schools. The theme for the 2020 Summer Reading Program is Engage and Escape with Reading. JPS Parent of the Year Mark Anthony Davis is a 2020 Congressional District 2 finalist for the Mississippi Parent of the Year. Davis has 2 children in JPS schools. Both attend Span Elementary. Congratulations, Mr. Davis. For more information about Jackson Public Schools, please visit our website. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter. Informed about the district's coronavirus response, please visit jackson.k12.ms.us/coronavirus response.
As always, we want to thank our instructional television team for their hard work in providing us with those updates and happenings all around Jackson Public Schools. Board members, as you know, Jackson Public Schools operates many 16th section properties throughout the city. These properties are granted to local school districts as a potential source of revenue through lease agreements. One of those properties, one of those many properties maintained by JPS is Lake Hyco. We've leased this property to Entergy for the past nearly 30 years, and that lease ends on October 31st of this year. We've been in communication with Entergy officials and the Mississippi Department of State that manages and provides guidance on 16th section lands and properties, the Mississippi Department of Environmental Quality, and with our attorneys to discuss the process of turning that property back over to Jackson Public Schools. As you might imagine, there's lots of interest in the property for what it could be used for and how we might just have the best use of that property going forward. There are also a great deal, board members, of legal, environmental, and issues of risk that must be considered as we move forward in the process. Because this is not our core work, and we believe we have our hands full with just ensuring that our scholars get the kind of excellent education and learning experiences that they deserve, I'll be convening a small team of city officials, county officials, some community representation, the Department of Environmental Quality, the Department of State, and our attorneys to discuss the immediate next steps around the handoff of Lake Hyco back to Jackson Public Schools. And then to identify and develop a larger team to help us to plan for the best long-term use of the property. I've heard lots of stories. About Lake Hyco. Wow. I've heard lots of stories about Lake Hyco, and I know that there's lots of history there, and certainly lots of interest amongst all Jacksonians, but as well, and most especially the folks who live closest to the lake. And so want folks to know that safety and security are surely among the highest of priorities for us, but we also see this as a wonderful opportunity for us to reimagine that property and think through ways that we might ensure that the district continues to get some level of income from the property, but also that that there's an opportunity for the broader community as possible. So more information on that, board members, but I did want to just let you know that that's the next step, that I'll be convening this small team of folks to talk about immediate next steps, and then following that, the larger team to do some work on long-term planning for the property. Each school year, educators expect scholars to master challenging content, problem solving, and effective communications. Effective professional development is key to our educators, to their learning and refining of the pedagogical strategies that are required to teach those skills. We as a district are committed to providing our team members with professional development opportunities that help them to grow as educators. And this, of course, board members, you'll recall, is one of our core values, growth mindset. At this time, our Executive Director of Teaching and Learning, Dr. Kimberly Smith, will join us to give an overview of both the leadership and the teacher institutes that we ran this summer. Dr. Smith.
Good evening. You will allow me to share my screen. Can everyone see my screen? Okay, great job. Okay, as we move forward with our presentation, so this is our evaluation results and next steps of our 2020 Virtual Summer Institutes. They were aligned with our JPS mission, our JPS vision, and our JPS core values were embedded in our sessions. So we'll start with our Leadership Institute that was held July the 20th through the 22nd. There were 150 registered participants. There were 104 respondents to our evaluation with a participation rate of 69%. Day one was entitled Responsive Leadership, and this day was dedicated to helping our leaders to understand at that time our district reopening plan, strategies to develop a growth mindset, and also introducing our core square rubric for evaluating performance for our central office leaders. In our frontline session, there is an evaluation that our participants participate in. These are the evaluation questions, and as you can see from day one, all of our participants rated this day's session strongly agree or agree above 90%. There were some evaluation comments, and in your materials, board materials, to our board president and our members, there are the grows and the glows. So grows are what we found out that our participants wanted more of. Glows were things that we did well in. Day two, participants 150, number of respondents with 93 with a 62% participation rate. And today, that day, we focused on equitable leadership and the purpose of that day was to help participants develop equitable leadership within their schools and our departments, understanding the aspects of social and emotional learning, learning how to prioritize when everything seems important, and then also understanding the key indicators of our core squared rubric. Again, here were our evaluation results. The participants rated, again, our evaluation questions, percent strongly agree to agree, 90% or above. Again, our grows and glows, they did feel that the sessions were a little long because we went from 8:30 to 3:30, but they also enjoyed the collaboration. The PD was everything for an effective leader, and they began to develop a growth mindset. For day three, we had 159 registered participants, 75 responded to the evaluation, participation rate 47%, and it focused on strategic leadership. On this day, we focused on our SMART goals and what goals we needed to put in place to lead our buildings and our departments to success. Evaluation results. This was a hands-on day where the participants got an opportunity, our building level leaders delved over into our learning management platforms. And as you can see, the percentage rates increased to almost 100% on this particular day. Some comments, they wanted more time and also more PD regarding teaching and learning and saying they needed more. Our glows, some improved areas that they felt we did well in, pertinent information that they could use immediately. And our opening remarks from Dr. Cormack and our closing remarks from Dr. Green fully engaged them, and they could really feel the heart of our senior leadership team. So our next steps, working along with the assistant superintendents, the Office of Teaching and Learning will create more learning sessions and opportunities to involve our building level administrators and more trainings that will enable them to delve more into our digital platforms, working with our SAMR model, observing and providing more feedback with social emotional learning, feedback on planning virtual lessons, and providing more sessions with one of our lead partners, which is CT3. So in your board materials, you should see some information as relates to the SAMR model and what it is, just to build your capacity around that particular initiative. Our Teacher Institute was just on last week, and it went from July 27th to July 28th. The first day focused on equitable teaching, and we focused on understanding the aspects of social and emotional learning and how to align that to our instruction. There were 315 registered participants, 206 responded to the evaluation, 65% participation rate. They answered to the same questions. What we did notice is that the activities increased my capacity to use data to improve my practice, as well as model appropriate instruction strategies were rated in the 80 percentile, and that directly aligned to their evaluation comments because they wanted more. They wanted more of hands-on training and wanted to delve more into what they would be expected to do. However, they felt that the training did ease their anxiety about teaching virtually, that the information was refreshing, and it was very informative. Day 2 focused on strategic teaching. Also, they delved over into the learning management systems and how to integrate content within each system. We had 315 registered participants, 194 respondents with a participation rate of 61%. Again, a day 2, effectively allocating time, and the activities were rated in the 80s. Everything else was rated 90% or higher, aligned directly with their comments. They wanted more time. They want more time. But they also enjoyed the sessions as well, and they felt that the Institute was very well organized. So our next steps, as we work along with our assistant superintendents and our building leaders, just at the end of this week, our teachers will be engaged in smaller groups, again with our virtual teaching strategies, navigating through those digital platforms to implement instruction, using our technology model, which is the SAMR model, aligning social emotional learning and instruction, creating and implementing those quality virtual lessons into their instruction for students. Are there any questions?
Dr. Smith, I don't have any questions in particular because the one I had you answered by the end of your very good presentation. I'm just so excited with the work that you and your team are doing. And can board members learn? Can we join your professional development? I would love to learn some of these skills.
Yes, ma'am. We will be more than happy to send you the Zoom links. When we have those sessions, you'll be more than happy. We'll be more than happy to accommodate that, so we can send you those Zoom links for our upcoming sessions.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
ma'am. Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you for that question and for your interest, Dr. Hairston and others. I'm going to ask that Ms. Williams, if you would take a note to connect with Dr. Smith and identify a few of those sessions that we want to make sure that we get on board members' calendars, whether they can attend or not. Just want to make sure that they have access to it, and even to the ones that I guess where we are saving the recorded
great.
sessions, so they can access those.
That's excellent. I meant to ask about were they recorded, so that's wonderful.
Yes, ma'am. All of our sessions are recorded so that the teachers can refer back to them, as well as our building level administrators, and now you all as well. Yes, ma'am.
It is wonderful. And I loved how the teachers asked for more. That is so encouraging, and it's higher expectations for your team, but but it's going to be well worth it. And I just appreciate all you and your team's leadership and work.
Thank you.
And just to underscore, I don't recall if you stated this, Dr. Smith, those teachers were not on contract for the Teacher Institute. So these are folks who committed of their time because they want to grow their brains. They want to get become more effective in their practice, or share some of the things that they've learned. And there was a bit of that too. So just a huge shout out to our teachers and just all of those, Dr. Smith's team, for developing and implementing such a strong program. It's great to walk away from that and have teachers saying, we want more, we want more. So that's a great problem to have, to figure out the time and how to offer more and more of that. Anything more, Dr. Smith, or any other questions, board members? Hearing none. Thank you so much. Again, Dr. Smith, appreciate your leadership.
Thank you.
Your hard work there. Board members, as you know, and as many of our listening audience, I would say, as they know, on Friday, July the 24th, Board of Trustees, you held a special board meeting at which we announced that Jackson Public Schools would start the 2020-2021 school year implementing a virtual only model. And as we continued, and as we articulated during the meeting, as we continued to watch the COVID-19 cases and the cases of the pediatric COVID cases, as well as the data that we were getting about the health facilities in the area, in the state and in the area, in the county, we were compelled that this virtual only model was the best approach in order to protect and maintain safety of our JPS families and staff members. We know that many parents have lots of questions about the virtual model. And so I'm happy to announce that for those of you who have not yet seen it, the virtual learning plan, and we'll actually go through it in a bit, but the virtual learning plan is up on our website for any and everyone to access and to pour through and get a stronger sense of what we're talking about in this virtual model. The plan shows our parents and guardians and scholars and anyone else just how virtual learning could look at home, and including how attendance and assessments would be taken. It includes virtual learning schedules, some of the instructional supports, and much, much more. This very detailed plan is designed to help our parents and guardians to navigate virtual learning and to support their scholars at home. And there are obviously many ways that they might support them, obviously with structuring their days so that young people are ready to access the learning, as well as just supporting them in creating a space in the home so that they can work and work in peace and that sort of thing, but also supporting them in the content, in the lessons themselves. We've also developed monthly parent engagement events to help our parents become familiar with the district's plan, the virtual learning plan, and for how continuous learning will occur throughout the first semester of school. And this, to be clear, this virtual model, we've determined that the virtual model would be implemented in the first semester, so through December of this school year. The sessions, these monthly parent engagement sessions will be offered, that we'll be offering will help parents to better understand the district's focus and how they can support their children at home. We know that some JPS families will require additional support in making this virtual model work. We've heard from several parents. We've also, and others who are kind of thinking about parents, but we also, this was part of our thinking when we launched the initial plan, which included some options. But again, for reasons that I've already articulated here and previously, because of the data and issues around safety, we believe this was the better option to take or direction to take. So because we know that many of our families will need support just in helping to make this virtual model work, we've been collaborating with many of the local churches. Many of them have been in touch with us and have raised their hands to say, hey, we want to help. We want to be a part of what works for families in Jackson, which is awesome. And our hat is off, and we've got just big hearts overflowing for the love and support that we're receiving from from many of our faith-based leaders and organizations around the city. As well, many of the nonprofit organizations have been right alongside us and thinking through how they too can lean in and support young people, support families in the learning, but also being mindful of the need to keep them safe while doing so. So for those who are in need of some support, for those families in need of support, we ask that you please do contact your school. And I'll ask that our school leaders or members of your team just help us to better understand some of those needs there. And this is specifically for those who perhaps are looking for a place for their child to be, while if parents are unable to be with them at home, and this is not a promise that we will have the fix, that we'll have the answer to that, but there are, as I've mentioned, organizations and leaders and those in and around Jackson who want to support us with that. For any organizations that are looking to stretch out your arms or roll up your sleeves and help us in this work, please do contact Thea Faulkner. And you can go to our website and get her address there. Thea Faulkner, who leads our work with Partners in Education. We also have a device distribution plan, and I know many folks have been asking questions about that and maybe even making some assumptions about devices. We will be distributing devices. We've got thousands of devices, and we will be distributing those, the ones that we have, and we've ordered even more devices that we'll receive into the fall. And so we are moving towards a one-to-one situation, or a one-to-one model with our district. I'm excited about that, excited that we have the resources to do that. It will take some time to get there, but we've got a number of devices. So my best estimate, just based on some of the feedback we've gotten through registration, is that we will have enough devices to blanket all of the JPS homes. So while we may not have one device for every scholar, it does look as though we will have a device in every one of our JPS homes. And so we're certainly working towards that. But the key there is that we ensure that all of our scholars are registered. We can't plan, parents, we can't plan for your young people, for your scholars, if we don't know that they will be with us and what schools they will attend and all of that. So please register. We won't be able to disseminate devices unless the scholars are registered with JPS, and for obvious reasons. We want to make sure that you're with us before we're passing out devices to you. So parents, please do visit the Jackson Public Schools website at www.jackson, I'll start again, www.jackson.k12.ms.us, www.jackson.k12.ms.us. If you'll go to the website, there you can complete registration if you haven't already, and you can access the virtual learning plan. It'll be there for you, and we do hope that you'll give that some time and attention, because there's lots of useful information there for you and for your scholar. Also, please note that we're seeking, many of you know, or you've seen in the news, or perhaps you even watched the governor's press conference earlier today, where he announced a new executive order regarding the start of school being delayed for certain counties. Hinds County is one of them. And so we're seeking and we'll be getting some additional clarification as to exactly what is meant by that delayed start for Hinds County. Does that include those who are virtual, or is that just about in-person instruction? And so we'll get that clarification, and we'll be back around to our community and of course to you board members with a revised calendar to capture whatever that guidance is. We are excited to move forward with this virtual learning plan. We know that there's still lots of questions to answer and all of that sort of thing. But just know that the team is working hard to answer as many questions as possible. The last note that I'll make, because I know many of us board members, I know some of you have gotten calls or emails with regard to staff members who are concerned, because many of our staff members are also parents, and they either will have their children in Jackson Public Schools or in another school district where they're implementing a virtual model. And so we are working directly one-on-one with staff members. We've asked them to signal to us formally, and there's a process for that, to signal to us formally if they've got a specific issue or circumstance that would require them to work from home. And so just want you to know that we are continuing to work. Team members were working all this past weekend to review those requests and to determine exactly what's the situation with many of our staff members. And so we're looking forward to getting that resolved and moving as quickly as possible towards resolution there. That, board members, President Johnson, that concludes my announcements and my remarks for this evening. I'm happy to take any questions that you might have for me.
Thank you, Dr. Green. Dr. Green, I have one question. You said the parent engagement events, are they on our website? How do parents know when these events will be?
They are listed on the website. We are putting those out. I think I already saw them out on social media. A phone blast, if it hasn't already gone out, it will go out. And schools are also using their different communications tools to get out to parents. And so trying to blanket the community with that information as much as possible. And those sessions will be recorded so that parents who can't attend during the particular scheduled time, they'll be able to access them at another time. And so we're definitely looking for several ways to get information out to parents in general about the virtual learning plan, but also about certain key aspects of learning online.
Thank you. I also wanted to make one quick comment about the virtual learning plan itself. As a parent, I really did appreciate the scenarios of what a day would look like and how to follow your child through school and how to help, how to assist. Those were excellent. They were very, very helpful for me. Also, when it came to Canvas, how parents could use it to follow their children. Mm-hmm. That's excellent. And it's gonna help me be able to keep up and hold my children accountable. So kudos to the team for that and outlining it so that parents can understand.
Yeah, and thank you. Appreciate that feedback, and obviously want to pass that on to the team. Lots of smart people are working really, really hard to make sure that the tools that we're using, that we actually have tools that are helpful and that they themselves don't create greater angst. For sure, parents who've been using them and accessing them, it'll be a little easier for them right now, but that's exactly why we want to do these orientations and parent trainings to make sure that more and more of our parents can access the information that they need. And I don't have information about it now, but I know that the team is standing up some tech support for families, because we're clear that too is a resource that it's one thing just having tech support for teachers in the building, and now with teachers and staff also working from home, having that kind of support. Obviously, we need the same for our families. And early on, just to manage that, there'll be some bumps, there'll be some challenges, but that kind of support will be there. It's actually in the plan. It's articulated in the plan. So lots of things that the team is thinking through and just trying to anticipate some of the needs there.
Well, I, as a parent, really do appreciate it. Board members, are there any other questions of Dr. Green? Comments? If none, we will move on to public comment.
Okay, President Johnson, we had 4 since the meeting began. Ms. White's question was answered and Ms. Carr. So thank you, Dr. Green.
Oh, very good.
Now we have Ms. Watkins that's up.
All right, before we get started, I want to just set some expectations. Of course, you'll have 3 minutes for your comments. The moderator will keep time for you. As much as we believe in public comment, we will not respond tonight. We can be reached through email, which is on the board website. Did you say it's Ms. White?
Miss Carr. I'm sorry,
Carr.
Miss Watkins. I'm sorry.
Ms. Watkins.
Ms. Watkins.
Ms. Watkins. So, Ms. Watkins?
Okay, well, obviously Dr. Green addressed her concern. We have
Okay.
Mr. Phillips.
All right, Mr. Phillips.
Okay.
Hello,
Oh.
can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Look, I was just calling. I put an article in the Jackson Advocate this week, and it's the second time that article has kind of appeared. And I was just hoping and requesting that the board take a look at Robert E. Lee Elementary School and at J.V. George Elementary School, if it's ever going to be repurposed. And I would clearly like to see those schools renamed so that we're not continuing to honor Confederate leaders. There are enough heroic leaders who were part of the Union in spirit, if not in actuality, that we could name those schools after. And since we've already started down the road by renaming Barack Obama Elementary School, I would like for us to take a look at Robert E. Lee Elementary and J.V. George Elementary if it's ever to be repurposed. I will, at a later date, probably send written communications to the board along those lines. But that's, my sentiment and what I want to get out there today.
Thank you so much for your
Hello?
Thank you so much for your thoughtful comments. Is that all, Mr. Phillips?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
That completes our public comments.
Thank you. So now, board members, we're moving on to information items only. Ms. Marshall Thomas.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
President Johnson, board members, Dr. Green. The administration presents for information a rebranding and relaunching strategy of the early college high school program and Tougaloo College. One of the strategies that is being used for this rebranding and relaunch is the renaming of the program. So at this time, Dr. Evans will speak briefly about this particular strategy and the rationale behind the renaming.
Thank you, Mrs. Thomas, school board president, school board members, Superintendent Green. We are always excited to be able to share what's going on over at the early college high school. This rebranding and relaunch of the program is anticipation of next school year, actually, where we will have our first group of students graduating with an associate's degree from Tougaloo College. In addition, if you may remember, we revised the memorandum of understanding between JPS and Tougaloo right before we got out for this pandemic. And we anticipated doing a relaunch at that time. We moved from pilot, which was in the old MOU, a pilot program, to a permanent program, and we wanted to more deeply solidify the relationship and the partnership we have between JPS and Tougaloo College. We also wanted to clarify for our community. We have noticed over the last 3 years that over 80% of the people who interview with us believe they are interviewing for Tougaloo College, not a Jackson Public School District school. And they say that over and over this year, over 90% of the people identified us as a charter school with Tougaloo College. And we really wanted to honor the history of our organization, JPS, and the history of Tougaloo College, and be more direct about the organization, our school, and its affiliations. And so the students believe that a renaming should be a part of our rebranding. Other elements of our rebranding would be that we have now merged with the School of Education at Tougaloo College. We have physically moved to Holmes Hall, which is the site for the Department of Education, where we will be facilitating those student teachers who are in programs at Tougaloo College. We'll be sharing best practices. And we believe that this will be a great experience, not only for our teachers to continue to grow and develop and learn, but to share some of these best practices that we have. Our teachers already started this summer with our Summer Bridge program. We've gotten excellent feedback. We are really excited about virtual learning because we see it as a challenge to do more, bigger, and better in this new environment. And our students, I shared some with the superintendent, they have said how much they love school, already, and that they are looking forward to this school year. So I just wanted to say thank you to you all for your support over the years. We do believe that this would be a good decision to not only relaunch the program. Tougaloo wants to do a big press release, a meeting with the superintendent to really share with the community the good things that are going on as a result of starting this program at Tougaloo College. And our students have had so much voice from the inception of this program, including being able to make decisions about the name, about the direction of the program, about our involvements. And we believe that that's how you become college and career ready. So I'm here to entertain any questions you might have, and I really appreciate your time.
And the official name is JPS Tougaloo Early College High School Program. So it bears the name of both organizations.
Thank you, ladies. Board members, are there any questions or comments?
Sounds good to me.
No questions or comments? Thank you both. And we will move on to the annual dropout prevention plan.
Okay, that will be me as well. Okay. At this time, I am presenting, the administration recommends the approval of the district's annual dropout prevention and restructuring plans. 3 objectives that we'll kind of go over as we are presenting to the board. The first is just to provide an overview of the process that was used in the development of the plan. Also, an overview of the dropout prevention plan itself. And then each of the principals in our feeder schools will provide an overview of their restructuring plans, which is a requirement of the dropout prevention plan. Our plans were all written with the 5 commitments in mind, and they'll talk more about that as they present. So the first question is, why do we have these plans? As a requirement, each district is required to have, by state law, is required to have an annual dropout prevention plan. And the plan must be board approved and posted on the district's website by August 1st of each year. But due to COVID, we were granted an extension until September 1st. Also, as a requirement, each high school with a graduation rate less than 85% is required to develop a graduation restructuring plan. And as part of the creation of those plans, the high school principals, along with the middle school principals, must participate in the development of the plan. We actually also included our elementary principals to help develop the plan, because what we know is dropout prevention is not just a middle or high school approach. It is an approach that impacts K through 12th grade. So what strategies are required to be included in the dropout prevention plan? These are the 4 strategies that must be included when we develop our goals. And the first one talks about reducing the retention rates in grades K through 2, targeting subgroups to ensure that they're receiving additional assistance, having dropout recovery initiatives for students that are ages 17 through 21, and then also addressing how students will transition from back to their home schools from the Juvenile Justice Center or the Juvenile Detention Center. So in our plan to address the reduction in our retention rates in grades K through 2, we developed 2 goals. The first goal states that we will decrease the retention rate from 12.9% to 10%. Also, we will increase the attendance rate from 77% to 80%. It talks about, the second strategy talks about targeting subgroups that need additional assistance. So these are the goals that were established. We're going to decrease the chronic absenteeism rate for our at-risk students. We will increase our ELA proficiencies, particularly for these subgroup of students, as well as the math proficiency. We will also focus on the graduation rates and moving the graduation rate from 74.2 to 77.1%. And then also making sure that we are identifying our at-risk students. So as we look through our data, there are some students, some subgroups that over time we've been able to gather and have become a focus for us. So our targeted subgroups are students with disabilities, our EL students, our students that are in foster care, our homeless students, our pregnant and parenting teens, our overage students, our students who fail 2 grades or more, and also our undercredited students are the subgroups that our plan is built around for this particular strategy. And then also the third strategy talks about dropout recovery. And what we are, our plan for this year, this is, and if you notice it says baseline year, we've not really focused on re-enrolling students who've already dropped out. But our goal this year, which is also our baseline year, is to reach back and at least bring in 3% of the students that had dropped out or is in their 5th year of graduating, making sure that those students are actually coming back and re-enrolling into one of our programs or some subsequent program, for example, Job Corps or GED program. Also, to decrease the dropout rate by 3.5%, using the early warning system indicators to monitor and track students who may potentially drop out. So what we're saying is having a very clear focus to grab those students prior to them dropping out. And we'll talk more about early warning systems shortly. And then also we talked about an alternate option, for example, Job Corps, GED, or any type of community-based program that will allow students to find some alternate options. And then lastly, addressing how we transition students to their home school from the Juvenile Detention Center. And what our goal is just to simply follow the state's policies around transitioning students back to their home schools. And we have clear strategies within this goal identified in our plan. The restructuring plans, again, are required for each high school that has a graduation rate that's less than 85%. So earlier I spoke about the early warning system. Well, there are 3 clear indicators that are part of this system: attendance, behavior, and course performance. So as a requirement in their restructuring plans, their goals had to be focused on attendance, behavior, and course performance. As part of the early warning system with attendance, how do we identify, or what students do we identify that may be at risk or off track when it comes to attendance? Well, it's any student who's missed 10% of their days of attending. So for example, if you've attended 90 days so far, if you've missed more than 9 days, then those students are considered to be off track. If you've attended 180 days, if you've missed 18 days or more, then you're considered off track. And then also looking at students who exhibit behavioral issues, and then students who, as far as course performance, who are not performing at a C or better in their core courses. The restructuring planning process, and we talked about it, as far as the elementary, middle, and high school principals working together, identifying, looking at their feeder pattern data. So we were able to collect data, attendance, behavior, and course performance data by feeder patterns. That's elementary through middle schools. And they looked at all of their data as a whole, and they identified three goals that would impact the data that's causing them graduation issues, or causing them not to meet the graduation rate goals. And these are the graduation rate goals for the state as well as our district. So our goal for the 21-22 school year is to have a graduation rate of 77.1. Our current graduation rate is a 75.1, which is listed here. And what we've done is there are 5 schools in our district now that currently has a graduation rate that's less than 85%. Callaway, Forest Hill, Jim Hill, Lanier, and Wingfield. As a result of that, they were required in their feeder schools to have a restructuring plan. So at this time, we're going to ask that those principals, as a requirement to the process, the principals are required to present their plans to the school board. So what we've done is identified a 2-minute limit for each school to provide an overview of their restructuring goals, as well as answer any questions that you all may have. So we'll first start with Callaway High School, and we actually have 2 high school principals that serve in that feeder pattern, and that's Mr. Harrison Michael and Dr. Chanello Evans.
Good morning to the board members and district leaders. Ms. Thomas, I don't know if you have, I'm not unable to share my screen. I don't know what's going on with my computer, but I just wanted to outline the 3 goals. I didn't know if you were able to pull that up for me as I go through them. But basically for, after we met, like Ms. Thomas outlined, my feeder pattern and I set myself along with Dr. Evans, came up with 3 goals, which are in line with the district goals as well as our feeder pattern goals. The first one is to look at chronic absenteeism, and we actually want to decrease that close to 3% to move from 77.1 to 80%. Chronic absenteeism is a difficult thing because all absentees count toward chronic absenteeism, even those that are excused. So children with medical condition, those that are, you know, whatever the case may be, absent is just absent according to chronic absenteeism. But we do have a way to track those students. And I think one thing that will help us out with the attendance is one of our commitments, number 4, providing a joyful learning environment. We do believe that the more children enjoy the educational experience, they will want to come and not miss for those that are just missing arbitrarily for non-health related reasons. The next one thing we found that was a glow for us is we want to maintain 98.1% or above of students that are on track based on behavior data. Callaway does not have a serious behavior problem, and we think that's attributed to our talented and empowered teams. Commitment number 3, teachers are basically handling their business with the students in the classroom, and they are providing those wraparound supports. And I think also the social emotional learning piece will help us out with that, and empowering those teachers to do what they need to do for students. Also, the third goal is based on course performance, and we want to move from 84.3% to that 85% marker of children that are on track, scholars that are on track based on student report card data that are on track to graduate within their 4 years. We also think that Commitment 2 will help us with that, especially in this new age of learning, innovative teaching and learning. Office of Teaching and Learning is providing some excellent training. We've just received a PD calendar. Teachers are a little nervous, but ready to move forward with working with their children. I think those three identified will help us move to the 85% marker for graduation. Therefore, once we reach that mark, we won't be required for these restructuring plans each and every year. And I do think that we have the team to do it within our feeder pattern.
Absolutely. Mr. Michael, and just to kind of close out what, your comments, one of the things that we believe will really help support Callaway and will be in alignment with commitment number 5 regarding accountability and excellence. The team that has been assembled, not just to create this plan, but to monitor and implement and revise it, is a powerful team. It includes classified and certified staff members, members from each person's schools beyond the principals and assistant principals and the counselors. So we have all these various perspectives who will be coming to the table at least monthly to make decisions about how we might need to refine the implementation of this plan in our various buildings and what we can do collectively to support Callaway High School. So we believe that together, everyone achieves more, and we hope to help Callaway reach its goals sooner rather than later.
Thank you. I have a question. Could you sort of give us some details of what type of actions you would take, especially in a virtual learning environment, if you find that certain students aren't logging on or what have you?
Well, for us, we have multiple ways of connection with our parents and students. We have the school status platform that calls out from the information we have in SAMS. We also have Blackboard Connect that we use for those communication purposes, but we also have an additional app that we use called the Band app. And it basically, we load all the kids in by grade level. And what each teacher will do also every morning during homeroom, we have a designated time for the social emotional learning platform and lessons that we would use. And we will also use that time as a check-in, check-out, since the students have to log in to take their attendance. And immediately, if those kids are on that teacher's roster and they don't show up, we can do an immediate call out to get with those parents and those students to make sure they get logged on or to get notified if they're having some technical support issues. So we're going to use those 3 mechanisms to stay in constant communication. And the parents are able to respond in the school status platform.
In addition, the high school division started a practice when we were out in the 4th term, where our counselors checked in with our students who had not been engaged at least every 2 weeks on a circling base, trying to make sure we touch all students at least once, but those students that we have not seen as much as we needed to see them, who were not checking in regularly, those counselors, in addition to other staff members, were reaching out to those families. We also partner with Mr. Terrell, the dropout prevention coordinator, who does home visits. So we don't just stop at the calls or the emails or those blasts through school status, but we have a team that will go to the home to make sure that our students are really engaged in this learning process, virtually or face-to-face.
Thank you. Board members, are there any other questions? Are there any questions?
Just one follow-up question, and Dr. Evans, this may be for you. So you mentioned reaching out once every 2 weeks. Will we do better than that? Well, and help me understand that doesn't seem very often. Like, that sounds like twice a month. And so is the plan to be better than that, or do more than that if needed over the next semester?
Well, let's take a school like Callaway that might have, or a school like Murrah that may have had 1,500 students. So to touch at least every student once every 2 weeks is a yeoman's task to do. For those students who are unengaged, and those attempts happen frequently. We don't want students to miss any day. So I imagine, and we've talked about it in our high school division meetings, even on today, processes that will be in place for students who don't log on initially. So we're looking at the 12th, because our first line of defense is to get them registered, and the superintendent spoke to that today. And as soon as we can get everyone registered, we can definitely follow up. We have the correct information to touch bases with them, but we don't want anyone to slip through the cracks. So that's just that touch point for all students. Right,
Yeah.
all students. But for those who are identified using our early warning system, those who are not missing, who are not attending class regularly, or not doing well, or who have other identified issues, those touch points are more frequent, and we have a team that can spread those calls out so that they can happen daily for those students who may need that.
And to clarify, this is above and beyond the classroom teachers.
Oh, yeah.
This is an additional support to make sure that everyone is seen, everyone is known, and as has already been articulated, if there are any particular issues with attendance or logging in and that sort of thing, that additional support. But yes, the expectation is that teachers are daily, reaching out and engaging with scholars for learning for that day.
Great, thank you. That's very helpful.
Okay, Mr. Hampton with Foresthill.
Good evening, Superintendent Green, President Johnson, Ms. Thomas, colleagues, and everyone else on the call. Mr. Hampton, Principal, Forest Hill High School. Our feeder pattern, we came up with 3 goals that we wanted to focus on. First one was to decrease the chronic absenteeism rate from 13.2% to 10.2% by May of 2021 for the entire feeder pattern. Secondly, to decrease the behavior infractions by 10%. And then lastly, to increase the level of academic performance on the end of course tests as it relates to proficiency by 5% as a feeder pattern. So those are our 3 particular goals. What questions do we have?
I sort of have the same question. I'm sort of interested in your actual the actions that you take when students aren't showing up.
Okay, as far as that, we spoke about that in our particular feeder pattern meetings while we were doing this here. I'm gonna speak to you from a feeder pattern perspective, then I'll talk to you from a high school perspective, exclusively with Forest Hill. As a feeder pattern, we talked about virtual meetings with parents and scholars, kind of have a wraparound service. We have to create mentoring programs within each school. We kind of coined it as capturing scholars' hearts, whether you have a custodian, cafeteria worker, or safety officer, everybody assigned with a particular scholar where you can check in. So that way, it's more than the classroom teacher touching that particular scholar. As it relates to instruction, like Mr. Michael said and Dr. Evans, we have things during homeroom where we can touch bases with scholars when they logging into their Canvas platforms, and we use our counselors, intervention, and other certified staff to pair with those teachers to ensure that we have everyone fully engaged in this virtual sense by being new to everybody. So it's not a 100% plan because it's new, but those are the things that we have so far.
Thank you. Board members, any questions? All right, Ms. Marshall Thomas.
Okay, Mr. Brown with Jim Hill High School.
Good evening to the established from all. We have 3 goals as well, our school improvement plan. First goal is to decrease the dropout rate of Jim Hill feeder pattern from 21.6% to 18.6% by May of 2021. To goal number 2, as pertains to behavior, to decrease the number of behavior infractions in Jim Hill feeder pattern by 10% from 677 to 609 incidents by May 2021. And goal 3, as far as course performance is concerned, to increase the course performance from 86.8% to 90% by May of 2021. As far as goal 1 is concerned, our action was to implement the early warning system through SAMS and MSIS data, as well as to notify parents when we notice that students are not attending school as expected by us as a school as well as by the district. Goal 2, the action step was behavior, would be to implement a comprehensive positive behavior instructional support system with fidelity and have opportunities for parents and students to be recognized for adequate behavior of scholars in schools on a daily basis. Also, we would have for goal 3, for course performance, to implement quality tier 1 instruction, use data to drive our instructional decisions, and have a quality implementation of professional learning for all staff members. I reserve myself now for any questions that may be posed.
Thank you. I'm sort of curious whether you think there's whether visual learning is going to be a hindrance to being able to keep kids in school. I'm just interested in your thoughts.
No, ma'am. We do not believe that visual learning will be a hindrance for our scholars in our school. During the month of June, as well in the month of July, we were able to engage 90% of our staff in 30 hours of professional learning for the upcoming school year. So we've been engaging teachers and multiple platforms to provide quality educational experiences that are meaningful and as connected to our commitments in Jackson Public Schools, and they will have a joyful learning experience virtually.
Thank you. Board members,
Yes,
any
ma'am.
questions?
Okay. Lanier High School, Dr. Valerie Bradley.
Good evening, board
Good
members,
evening.
Dr. Green, Ms. Thomas, and any other guests who are on here. My name is Valerie Bradley. I am principal at Lanier High School, better known as 833 Nation. And Mr. Figures, if you on here, I know you are. He and his wife asked for one of these, so I have this for them. They came over to see me, so maybe some of you others will come and see me. I'll get one for you too.
God bless you.
I have that for your wife. Let her know. We created 3 goals, just like everybody else, in conjunction with the principals in the feeder pattern. Our first goal to increase the graduation rate by 3% from 59.4% to 62.4%. And all of the timeline on these goals are by May 2021. Goal 2, to decrease the dropout rate by 3.5% from 27.1% to 23.6%. And goal 3, to decrease the truancy rate by 5.8% from 29.3% to 23.5%. And all of these goals, just like the previous schools you heard, are akin to the district's strategic plan. More specifically, we looked at commitment number 4, a joyful learning environment. Of course, our students dropping out has been a big issue for us. So one thing that we did was created monthly chat sessions with our students. And just listen at some of the feedback that you all have shared with the other schools, the way that we plan on continuing that. When we first got out in March, I started a grade level chat. And with that grade level chat, we did Zoom, and we had a couple of student contacts who could get the word out to everybody in their grade band. And so pretty much we're going to do that same thing again. We'll have a grade level leader, and that grade level leader will get the word out on the day and time of the chat session. And so we'll continue that. And those chat sessions were very informative, and we did them before we got out of school, but we wanted them to know who the people were that could help and support them, and that's ongoing, and to make sure that if they had questions or concerns, that we could answer them directly rather than hear it from someone else. So we'll continue that. Our second commitment, lastly, looking at a culture of accountability, which is commitment number 5. And that does include that for all staff, students, and parents. Counselors hold academic sessions with students where they share information with teachers. And those academic sessions are individualized by student. They share the information with staff through our early warning system, team meetings. with parents in the community through parent meetings and site-based or community-based council meetings, which is a newer name. And the end product of those meetings is that everyone walk away with an action plan and steps on what we can do to make that individual child experience success. Any questions for me?
I do. Now, Lanier has that wonderful alumni body.
Yes.
Do you plan on using them to help? And how do you plan on using them?
Absolutely. So we've been in several meetings, and the alumni are a part of that. We've come up with some strategies that we could implement K-12, and they've agreed to help finance some of those things, whether virtual or whether we were going back face-to-face or however. So they've agreed financially to help support us with some of the things that we're trying to do, and that is K-12. So there's not just, at Lanier, that's elementary, middle, and high school. One, to get students excited about being in school, to showcase our school, the end product. We did some things before we got out in March where we included the whole feeder pattern, and so we plan on continuing those things with the help of the alumni.
Thank you. Board members, any questions?
Mr. Roderick Smith, Wingfield High School.
Good evening to all the stakeholders of JPS. I'm Roderick Smith, principal of Wingfield High School. And like the other schools, I also have 3 goals. The first one being increase our graduation rate by 3% from 72% to 75%, decrease the dropout rate by 3.5% from 21 to 17.5%, and decrease the truancy by 6.1% from 30.7% to 24.6%. These goals have been consistent over the past 3 years. And if you saw on the previous slide, so far we have been able to meet those goals, increasing our graduation rate from 58% to 64% to 72%. And we're projected to meet that goal for this upcoming year as well. And our goals to meet, our actions to meet those goals start with course performance, providing quality instruction in our classrooms. And how we do it, utilizing our teachers to take the professional development by both MDE, our Office of Teaching and Learning, and utilizing the data points that we have in our FIT meetings and our common assessments that we take every 2 weeks. We also looking at our attendance and our behavior as our second and third plans of action. We utilize our EWS teams, our PBIS team, as well as our dropout prevention team. All of these teams consist of various people, both students, parents, community member. We have certified and classified people on on all of those committees. So that's how we have been able to meet our goals so far, and we plan to continue meeting those goals this upcoming school year, even virtually with this pandemic going on. Yield myself to questions.
Board members, any questions?
I have, it's a comment and a question. Mr. Smith, the numbers for Wingfield are pretty remarkable when you look at what's happened over the last 3 years, going from a 58% to a 64% to now in the 70s. So I guess that means you're going to be close to 80 next year. So no, I'm just. So I wondered if you could just, again, and you've shared some of the things that you're doing. So I'll start with those kudos. And this actually may be a question for Ms. Marshall-Thomas. Ms. Marshall-Thomas, are there, what can we draw from what's going on at Wingfield with the progress? And it's been steady progress. It's not up and down. It's the trend line moving in the right direction. That can be incorporated into other schools so that we continue to make progress towards our goal.
I'll speak and then I'll let Ms. Thomas speak. It starts with one of our core values of growth mindsets. Our students, when they believe that they can do it, they do it. And we paved the way for them to be able to be successful. And so I think that that is probably the key factor to our success, is just being able to change the mindset of our students. And it starts with them, and then we start to work with their parents, because still some of the parents still have a negative perception of Wingfield. But when we get that, the mindset of the students to change, we then start to change the mindset of the parent and then the people in the community. So I think that would be the primary key factor to the success of Wingfield. It isn't necessarily me, but just getting our students to believe, and then making sure that our teachers also change their mindsets to know that our students can be successful. We can compete with everyone in JPS and everyone in the rest of the state. Mr. Thomas.
And just to piggyback, Dr. Sivak, Mr. Smith is correct that students understanding that, you know, people care, that, you know, we love them and we want the best for them. I think once they realize that, you know, we're on their team and we care about them is the first thing. But also early identification and safety nets, having those in place early before we get them to a situation where they're not meeting graduation requirements is key. So that means having a very strong data monitoring and tracking system. How are we catching those students before they fall? So the early warning system, as we spoke about earlier, is built, the module is built in our student information system. It's built in SAMS. So it automatically flags a student who's missing 10% or more days. It flags students who are experiencing behavioral issues. It's flagging students who are also failing their core courses. And then we have graduation coaches, we have our counselors, and we have other support staff in place to fill in the gaps where they exist. So we have students who are experiencing issues with attendance. What respite services are available for families that, you know, we have students that may not have clean clothes, that they don't come to school because, you know, I don't have anything to wear. So what supports and services are available through our community, and what supports are available through us? What additional things can we do to get them into school and feel safe and comfortable and, you know, positive self-esteem about themselves? It's not just one particular thing, it's a series of things. And it's about having a strong system in your school, a strong system of supports for students. So I think Wingfield and Provine has done a really good job of creating these safety nets that has landed them in a situation where their graduation rates have steadily increased and improved.
I'll just chime in as well, just quickly, because I see that my team is not going to say it, but there's also a lot to be said just about stability and leadership, right? And so, you know, excited that Mr. Smith has continued the fight and the work. And I mean, you see, humble brother, humble leader who's just making the work happen. But when I think about what's happening and what's building at Lanier, when I think about what's happening and what's building at Jim Hill with new leaders there, and I know Mr. Hampton is building up his team and continuing some good work there. The stability that we're seeing, and you know, us, even we as a district, trying to provide some level of stability so that we're not constantly changing the, you know, the curriculum, changing the markers, the goals, the priorities, all those things. I think we'll continue to see a bit of that. There's some really key kind of strategies. There's also some magic as well that strong leaders just make happen.
Thank you. That's all really great.
Ms. Thomas, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I was interested in knowing about the parental support and involvement, you know, at each of the schools. Are we seeing an increase in that, you know, because we know that is such an important part of those students' learning. So are we seeing an increase in that?
Yes, ma'am. And you have to be very strategic about how you increase parental support. You have to create opportunities for parents to engage. So one thing that all of our schools have been committed is creating opportunities for parents to engage, and not just, parents who are off at 6 o'clock at night, or we have parents who work. So how do we create opportunities for those parents to engage? So we have things throughout the day, on weekends, just check-ins with parents. So having and creating opportunities for parents to engage has been a really strong strategy for us in high schools, particularly at Wingfield and Provine. They have, that's been part of their plan, is how do we engage parents? They talk about academic counseling sessions. So we require 3 academic counseling sessions per year. Those counseling sessions are with students and parents, and they're one-on-one. So it's not just, I'm talking to the student, the parents and the students come in to talk about, okay, how is my child progressing toward meeting graduation requirements?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, board members?
And I do want to just add Mr. Sean Terrell. Mr. Terrell serves as our dropout prevention coordinator, and he has done a yeoman's job over the past 2 years. You all just don't know. He works day in and day out getting supports for our students, even from, students that are homeless to finding shelter for them on Saturday nights. So he does an excellent job, and I just want to just thank him for all the support and the hard work that he pours into our scholars.
Thank you. Any other questions, board members? Thank you, Ms. Marshall-Thomas.
You're welcome.
Next, we have Ms. Thomas.
Good evening, President Johnson, Superintendent Green, other board members, and all stakeholders. The administration presents to you for information only a memorandum of agreement between the Mississippi Department of Health and Jackson Public School District. Mississippi Department of Health and Jackson Public Schools will continue their efforts to improve the health and well-being of children and youth by implementing the Abstinence Plus Sex Education Program. The Creating Health and Responsible Teens CHART initiative is funded by the Personal Responsibility Education Program, known as PREP. Jackson Public Schools is implementing sex education as a mandate by the state of Mississippi. We follow guidelines established by House Bill 999 by having parents sign consent forms. Boys and girls are separated during these classes, and the content has an emphasis on abstinence. Jackson Public Schools has been a CHART district since 2012. Roughly 1,500 to 1,700 students participate in the program each year. And we have implemented the Draw the Line curriculum, which is in grades 6 through 8 for those years. The principals indicate which staff member will teach the classes, and we monitor instruction through observations, through lesson plans, as well as maintaining those parent consent forms. With this program, overall teen pregnancy rates have decreased in the last 10 years in Mississippi and in the United States. But unfortunately, STDs and HIV have not declined. So we continue to emphasize the importance of sex education. Any questions?
Board members, any questions or comments? We can move on to the next item.
Okay, thank you. The next item is a memorandum of agreement between the University of Mississippi Medical Center and its School of Nursing and Jackson Public School District. The purpose of this agreement is to continue the established and guided working relationship between the University of Mississippi Medical Center and Jackson Public School District. UMMC has provided healthcare services in Jackson Public Schools for over 20 years. The University of Mississippi has received a $1.5 million grant to continue to provide nurse practitioners who will offer primary, acute, and episodic care to students in a school-based clinic. These sites include Galloway Elementary, Johnson Elementary, Lanier High School, and Brinkley Middle School will be a new addition this school year. Staff has already begun communicating with the University of Mississippi Medical Program Director regarding parent survey responses about how to best utilize the clinics during this virtual time, as well as conversion of consent forms so that they're easily accessible to parents, having clinics open daily from 7:30 to 3:30 so that appointments may be made by parents, as well as contacting families and setting up appointments for students to receive those mandatory well child screenings. Telehealth services will also be available to allow greater access to healthcare for those who may not be able to get into the clinic physically. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. Board members, any questions or comments?
Thank you.
Mr. McCracken.
Good evening, everyone. How you doing?
Good evening.
President Johnson, board members, Dr. Green, and guests. As you have requested, we come to you each month with the overview of or an update of the bond program. And we're excited to provide you where we are today and where we plan to go and how long it's going to take us to get there. As it is being prepped or prompt, we would like to share with you, we have at least 5 objectives that we would like to share with you. Those objectives are the project status, the standard summer construction, as well as phase 2 of architectural engineering engagement, simple, short, abbreviated financial report, and photos. And starting with the first, which is the project status, we have right at 210 purchase orders or projects that we have actually established and completed, or that we have established at a total of $21.2 million. Projects completed, 120, and projects under construction right at 42. A total of $5 million have been expended, and that does include projects that are encumbered. They just haven't billed us yet. But the 21.2 million, 21.2 million is encumbered funding. The total of $21.4 million will be ready for advertisement in the next 5 to 4 months. This is projects that includes the athletic fields, the high school libraries, and the academies, which advertise and bids on August the 26th. So we will be opening that particular project up very soon. Also, your high school science labs, that has already started. We've already had the pre-construction conferences at the various schools, so we're moving forward with that project. This is just a standard summer construction. We have quite a few projects that are going on in the district, and it is certainly our endeavor to initiate various size construction projects during the summer months, which includes cleaning, finishing floors, deep cleaning, and multiple repairs. And this is pretty much done throughout the course or throughout other school districts, as well as what we do each year. In addition to that, and that's for both operations side, but with the bond construction, that adds more level of construction that goes on during the summer. So a lot of people may assume that some of these projects will finish in 30 days, and 60 days, and 90 days, and that is true. But some of your larger projects actually will end within 160 days, or the construction time period is right at 160, 180, up to 200 days. So that work will progress throughout the course of the year, even when school starts. But any activity that disrupts the classes, we certainly will halt that work and do that work after hours, as well as on the weekends. So this is just a standard, and that's what I want to share with you. The next item just gives you the architectural firms that have just been hired that you brought on board last month. The contracts have been endorsed, And we're actually meeting with all of the architectural firms this week and next week to go over the scope of services or the scope of work that's associated with the various schools, the remaining schools that are in phase 2 and phase 3. There's a lot of work that we have to do. They are poised and ready to move forward and make these projects work and to complete them within the time frame that is left. This is a simple financial report, or you can say abbreviated or short, and this just gives you a listing of all of the activities that have taken place so far with work orders at the various schools, starting with Bailey, Bates, Board, and Brinkley. These are the activities that are going on. And each time we do a new project, a certain PO will be granted, and that will be a part of the packet for that particular school. And the next 3 pages actually gives you just an overview of what's going on in each school. And it also shows what projects have been completed, what projects are ongoing, and also projects that are under construction. And we also list the minority firms that are associated with each school and each project. So you will be able to peruse this list at your leisure, and we will provide you with an appendix with all of the schools. This would be a 15-page listing, and we certainly didn't want to bore the people with all of the listing, or you at this time with all the listings that we have. So we will provide that to you this week. And these are just some sample photos of some work that has been completed. Board, which was a part of the corrective action plan. We've completed all that work. Now we can ask MDE to come out to hopefully check off that school. We have 6 schools remaining. Board, it is our hope that they can complete that sign off on that particular project. The next project, next slide. This is also Board. When we mentioned about the corrective action plan, there was, the issue was second means of egress through classrooms as well as through the library and the tech center. And we've created new openings, doors, so that we can meet that particular standard 30. So that work has been completed, and we certainly welcome MDE to hopefully check that particular school off. This is Span Elementary School. We're doing restroom renovations. To your left is the demolition portion of Span, and to your right is the right at 85% completion of the work that is being done at Span. We anticipate that work being completed within the next 2 weeks so that students, or if students were returning, they will be able to use those facilities. Next slide. This is Casey. This is exterior work, drainage work. That's a part of the bond program. We've had some issues with Casey water coming into the building on the lower portion. We're correcting that. And these are just simple projects. These are less than $50,000 projects, which means we can expedite these very quickly. And this project is right at 15% complete. Casey and Span, these are lighting improvements throughout the district that we will be doing, we'll be doing at multiple schools. We completed the work at Casey and completed the work at Span. And the lights were relatively bright in some locations. We had to sway them to prevent them from shining in some of the residents' homes or bedrooms. And we did get a call on that. And we went out immediately and corrected that. And they certainly welcomed it. And as a matter of fact, they provided the school with a cake, how we responded to that very quickly. So we're pleased to have provided them with a sense of comfort. The next slide is a condition at Powell Middle School where the pavement was really in poor condition, but we've come back and provided a new surface for that location. And now we're in the process of actually putting the painting and marking. We're increasing the parking spaces, making the bus lanes to your left, whereas prior they were to the right. Now we're making the pedestrian parking and teachers parking to the right, and the bus lanes are directly parallel to the canopies. So the community is quite pleased with that. We were initially going to do the patching, but it was imperative that we do the resurfacing for that property. And people in the community are quite pleased, and so are we. This is Green Elementary School. Water was leaking into the facility. To your left, you can see where carpeting has been in the school for quite some time. And the center is showing that it's being removed. And the right-hand side shows where the carpet has been replaced with tile. And we're also coming back to paints for the rooms and doing some interior work. So that particular school will look much better than what it was, and it's going to improve the conditions and make it more appealing for the students. And with that, that concludes my brief presentation as to where we are and looking forward to moving forward with the rest of the bond program. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Mr. McCracken. Board members, questions?
Mr. McCracken, I was really excited to see the athletic facilities on the list. And so those, does that include Newell Field, Hughes Field, and the baseball fields over by Capital City?
It encompasses all of the athletic fields. Newell Field is still on the table. We're just waiting to make a decision. It is our hope that we can this month so that we can move forward with these projects. Dr. Green, would like to add something to that?
No, just to clarify what you just said. No, the plan is still as it was voted on by the community. No changes have been made to that plan.
Okay.
And further clarify, some of the bond, some of the revenue that we made from investments on the bond dollars are being invested in the fields as well. So we've got a little additional funding to support the upgrades to the fields.
That's great. And assuming the bid process works, meaning we don't have to go out and rebid again, what's the timetable you envision for starting work?
For the fields?
Yes.
Our schedule, unfortunately, the architect that has been assigned to the athletic fields, they've done a significant amount of work. So the construction document phase, or the plans to go out for bid, we anticipate doing that in January and starting construction in February and March. So they'll give us at least 5 months, 4 to 5 months for construction.
Great. So again, assuming the process goes as planned.
Yes.
Would that mean they would be ready for the 2021-22 school year?
That's exactly where we're planning August 31st of 2021.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, board members? There being none, we're moving on to information action items. Dr. Green.
Yes, board members, we have on the agenda first the district calendar, and due to the governor's announcement today and his executive order, I would recommend that if it's okay with you, board members, that we not that we rescind or that you not take action on that item today. Is that can you do that now?
I believe we can make a motion. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Ed.
As I say, I believe we can make a motion to table that item, and then that will effectively that would mean we wouldn't have to act on it tonight.
That's correct.
Thank you, Attorney Turner. Is there a motion to table item information action item A?
I'll make the motion to table information action item A.
Second.
Dr. Sivak has moved. Dr. Luckett has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? There being none, the motion is approved. Now, Dr. Green.
No, that was for the whole calendar for the whole year.
Oh.
The virtual learning plan?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, President Johnson. So I'm going to open the floor for Dr. Smith as well, but just want to say a couple of words about the virtual plan. As you know, this was a pivot that we made on the 24th, or as of the 24th of July. And so the team has been working feverishly to take what we were already planning to do virtually, but then to scale it across the entire district. And so lots of work around exactly how would this be experienced by the scholar, exactly how would this be experienced by the parent, exactly what are some of the very detailed kind of questions that need to be answered. What's the schedule? What will we need to access online, et cetera, et cetera. So that sort of thing obviously is the plan, and we're excited about that, to be able to provide that level of guidance and to answer those questions for folks. We also spent quite a bit of time, though, board members, thinking through those scholars who might not be connected by the first of school, the first day of school. And let me say a little more on that. I think I mentioned it earlier in my remarks. Based on the feedback that we've gotten from those who've registered, and I actually don't have a count as of today, but we're well over, I believe we're over 12,000 or so registrants for this coming school year, which is a little over half. But based on those folks who've already registered and in the registration process indicated that they needed a device or some help with a device, we believe that the devices that we have in inventory will be able to address those. And even if we had a majority of the other scholars to register, that we have enough devices to blanket really the district, and so that every home at least would have a device. And we have a number of what do you call it, hotspots as well, hotspots to help folks to get connected as well. Obviously, we need to first ensure that those homes where there are no devices at all and no connectivity at all, that we address them and then continue out. The team has thought through the grade levels and the content, or well, the grade levels that are kind of prioritized moving throughout the district based on the experiences that they'll have. For example, we know that our high schoolers, many of them are dually enrolled in JPS and in the in college courses, dual credit courses. And so they have to be on a device in order to be able to get to earn the college credits. So just wanted to give that kind of upfront information. As I mentioned earlier, we've got many of our faith-based leaders, our pastors and their congregations, our nonprofit organizations, some of our business owners around the city who are linking arms with us to provide. Some are providing devices, some are providing opportunities for folks to come into their space and use their connectivity. Others are looking at ways to house young people during the day to provide some supervision and support to them as they're learning virtually. So lots of really important work that's happened in this short period of time. And we'll continue to iterate on the plan just to ensure that we've got lots of information there, but also that people can figure out, can navigate the information, because I know that too can be a challenge. Lots of information and folks get overloaded, and it's hard to actually find the answer to the one thing that you're looking for. I'll pause here and see if Dr. Smith wants to add anything more with regard to what's in the plan and what people can expect as they move through it. Dr. Smith?
Okay, I would say also Ms. Thomas is still on the line too, so she can chime in as well. But pretty much, as you had already stated, the plan is very detailed, and what it outlines in the plan. There are links within the plan that links us to our food service and those food service sites as well, as we go throughout, and also to our expectations. So if I could, Dr. Green, I would like to share the expectations for our Zoom and Google, because it's being led by our fabulous superintendent. So if I could share my screen once more. And so when you access our district's website, this is what you would see. And so our community, again, would click on our virtual learning plan, and it gives a brief overview. And then they would click on the actual PDF version of our plan, and it's accessible here. And so we're just waiting until it loads. And then it goes through and pretty much is very detailed. We're not gonna, we'll be here all night going through every part, but it's very comprehensive and explaining our delivery. But I did want to share our Zoom and our Google expectations. And our links are actually in blue. So for our virtual learning details, and so our JPS online learning classroom expectations are here. And so it's being led by a fabulous superintendent. I'll blow it up a little bit more about our Google Meet expectations for our students and elementary that will be on the Google platform, about being on time, being in a quiet place, being prepared, our presentation and our appearance, muting yourself, participation, chat responsibly, communication, and being respectful. And then that also follows our Zoom expectations. So we thank you, Dr. Green, for allowing us to use you as our emoji to lead the way with our virtual learning platform. Also, moving just quickly through. So again, we have our virtual learning details. Dr. Green also talked about our instructional resources that is in the virtual plan. The assessments, how students will be assessed, and more details will follow as needed. Attendance requirements, accountability, who's accountable? We all are accountable. Our graduation requirements, we also have a learning schedule in here for our students without devices, and what the expectations are for students with devices and how we will capture that. Again, our schedules have been updated, our virtual schedules for elementary school, middle and high school, our instructional support with individualized learning providers for our ELL scholars, intellectual and gifted, our scholars that are in housing transition, our scholars that have a 504 plan, digital resources. Dr. Green made mention about our tech support. So here is the chart here that would show who will provide the support in the schools. They're divided out tier 1, tier 2. So that information is included with software resources, internet access. We have a priority groups for distribution of resources. We also have our instructional support, parent and instructional support, and it ends with a school set schedule so that students can schedule themselves at home. So very comprehensive. I must say, shout out to our assistant superintendents, our instructional team, because it was a collaborative effort, and kudos to the entire instruction team and Dr. Salgado.
And I'll just end this piece with, I actually haven't navigated on the website to where parents can find the schedules and that sort of thing for parent trainings. Did you?
Sorry, still on mute. So I can show that real quick so that parents can see exactly where to go. So again, when we go back out to our website for virtual learning and click on the virtual learning plan, underneath there is a virtual learning plan monthly calendar. And there is our sessions that will begin on tomorrow. Our first session is Lunch and Learn, and it's from 11 to 12:30. And then we have dinner bites For our second session, it's from 5:30 to 7. The Zoom information is included, and then our capacity is up to 500 parents.
I'm going to ask Dr. Smith if you'll work with Mr. Johnson's team. I want to blow that up. I want people to be able to see that. One, we might need to rename that link. Y'all forgive if we work in front of you, board members. We might need to rename that link so that parents know that this is where you go to do that. And I'm going to ask, let's figure out how we put that on the front, on the landing page for the district. Yeah. Just want to make it as easy as possible for parents to get to it.
Okay.
Board members, are there any questions with regard to the plan?
No, but I do want to say my children are going to get tired of seeing your emoji because I'm taping that right above their desk. Those are our expectations.
This was part of the hazing for taking on this job. The team is hazing me a little bit.
I think it's a great plan, and I hope parents and staff and everybody will give feedback where there might be any hiccups, but we'll expect hiccups in various places. But I think it's a very sound and thoughtful way to proceed, and I just thank all of the team who helped put it together.
Thank you. Yeah, the team worked hard on it, and we're sure that we'll need to keep iterating. And the more that the rest of the team, not just those who worked on the plan, but the rest of the team throughout the district, our school leaders, teachers, other staff members, the better they're able to speak to it and reference it, the more parents will be able to engage with it and pull down the information that they actually need. So I know that will just take some time.
Dr. Green.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Green, what about the non-registered students? That I know you said you had about half of the student population that is registered. So
yes, ma'am.
Are there plans to get these people to come on in and register?
Great question, and thank you for asking that. So our team, there's about 40 or 50 of us who meet Fridays, every Friday, leading up to, so a couple of months leading up to the start of school, and it's our Opening with Excellence team meeting. And so we're talking about all the things that go into the start of school. So that's registration, it's teaching and learning, professional development, all those things. Well, Friday, we're keeping our eyes on registration, and Friday, the team identified some additional strategies to try to help and encourage families to get registered. So school-based teams, principals and 8 assistant principals, main office staff have been calling and communicating with parents. And I'm told that we had a jump over the weekend of about 2,500 new registrants. Right. So it's that plus, as we said to folks, and as I mentioned earlier, obviously we wouldn't distribute a device to anyone who's not registered in Jackson Public Schools. Right. So I think between those two, we're starting to see people get registered. And it's from what we can tell, it's the folks who have been with us, and we expect them to come back, but it's important that they register officially. So we'll continue with those efforts, communicating out to families, and as I said, we can't distribute a device to them until they get registered. So I think that'll be encouragement as well.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I just make a general comment. Overall, the quality of the plans tonight have been excellent. The dropout prevention plan that was shared was really well organized, data rich, and likewise this plan. I'll speak just as a parent. It gives me a lot of confidence just, as we get ready to enroll well, they're already, and we registered as we get to school.
Well, thank you.
And so thanks to the team, because I know many hands, there's a lot of fingerprints around all of these.
And lots of late nights. The folks won't say it about their own work, but folks work really late nights to review and just to keep pushing to get to solutions that made sense, but then to communications about those solutions. So thank you for that. Kudos to them. Any other questions, board members?
All right, board members, is there a motion to approve the virtual learning plan?
So moved.
Second.
Dr. Sivak has moved. Dr. Harrison has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? There being none, the motion is approved. Thank you, Dr. Green. And now we have Dr. Hollins for items C and D.
Good evening, Madam President, other board members, Dr. Green. You have before you recommendations for approval of district-to-district transfers for those students coming to Jackson Public Schools and those who are leaving Jackson Public Schools.
Board members, are there any questions or comments? If not, is there a motion to approve information action items C and D?
So moved.
Second.
Dr. Luckett has moved. Ms. Hilliard has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? There being none, the motion is approved. Thank you, Dr. Hollins. And now we have Mr. Rowe.
Greetings, President Johnson, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Green. You have a request for child nutrition to provide breakfast and lunch for Ambition Prep for the 2020-2021 school year. We're anticipating serving about 250 students. Half of those will be virtual. We were approached by Ambition Prep because of poor service they received from their previous vendor. And so they've approached us to request service for this year.
Thank you, Mr. Rowe. Board members, are there any questions or comments? Mr. Rowe, for one, I think this is an excellent opportunity. I really do thank you for taking advantage of it. I think it's innovative thinking and being able to take a resource and make something else out of it. That's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
If there are no questions, you can move on to item F.
Okay, item F is a request to improve our point of sale system. The current point of sale system that we're using is antiquated. The new system will allow us to use credit cards, better meal counting capabilities. It's wireless, and it will help us move technology forward in child nutrition.
Board members, are there any questions or comments? Is there a motion to approve items E and F?
So moved.
Dr. Harrison has moved. Ms. Hilliard has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? There being none, the motion is approved. Thank you, Mr. Rowe.
Thank you.
And now we have Ms. Marshall Thomas again.
Good evening again. The administration presents for information the memorandum of agreement between the Hinds County Board of Supervisors for the Henley Young Juvenile Justice Center and the Jackson Public School District to provide educational services to students detained at the center for 1 or more days. In accordance with state law, educational provisions are required for all compulsory school-age students detained in a youth detention center facility. The district will provide educational services to include the required 240 instructional minutes as determined by the Mississippi Department of Education for students for the fiscal year 2020-2021 to all eligible and qualified children and youth involved in the Hinds County Juvenile Justice Center. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Marshall Thomas. Board members, is there?
Oh,
Oh,
can I ask a quick question? Well, maybe it's not
sure.
quick. But Ms. Marshall Thomas,
Yes, sir.
yes, I just wondered, and maybe it's not for this board meeting, but you know, I would love to hear, you know, just more about the vision of Henley Young, and maybe even charge, you know, all of us to think through what are the resources, what are the actions we can take to make this the most effective education program in the country for our students who are in the juvenile justice system. Appropriately, we spend a lot of time lifting up our scholars who excel, and we need to do in various programs, and we need to do that. That's part of changing the narrative of JPS. And you know, I think there's an opportunity here with this program, and I also believe we can get the resources to do it.
I agree.
And so where this becomes a place that people come to visit to see how it's done better than anywhere else.
Well, Dr. Sivak, I take you up on that offer. I too share the same feelings and desire for our program.
Let me draw a comparison here. Think about, to answer your question, Dr. Sivak, think about what we've seen of Dr. Evans with regard to the early college high. Think about the vision that she's driving, certainly not by herself, but that she's leading and driving forward. The engagements that she's had with various partners and parents, let alone obviously with Tougaloo College, and even pushing and challenging us to be flexible to support this school in ways that it needs to be supported differently or different from, you know, other schools. And so just thinking about the new leadership that we have at Henley Young, the vision that Marshall Thomas has been driving towards, the fact that we've got new partners even on the county side, new leadership on their side, and you know, folks over there who are just about it. I am very confident that some very basic things that will be done at Henley Young are going to make some major differences, and that we'll be able to really deliver some pretty radical change and amazing experiences, even for scholars who are detained right now. Because the reality is some of them are detained for days, and some of them, or I don't know what the shortest period of time, but for a short period of time, and some of them for much longer. And so we've got wonderful opportunities there, even given their circumstances.
Thank you.
board members, any other questions or comments? Is there a motion to approve information action item G?
So moved.
Second.
Dr. Sivak has moved and Ms. Hilliard has seconded. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? There being none, the motion is approved. Thank you, Ms. Marshall Thomas. Board members, next we have the consent agenda items finance. All of the consent agenda items finance have been reviewed by the board previously, and we've had an opportunity to ask questions of the administration. Are there any further questions?
Ms. Johnson, I don't have any questions. I think I want to just speak because everybody else is talking tonight and I'm getting jealous. No,
Uh-oh.
I wanted to, not that I have any changes on my consent agenda items, but I would like to just kind of update the board on where we stand on MAEP. We are absolutely monitoring the legislation or the lack of. As of today, we still do not have any action on the governor's veto as it relates to the funding bill for school districts. What we have been given so far is a monthly allocation. So close to the end of July, we received a letter from MDE that told us what our allocation would be for July. And we've been told to anticipate that same process until a funding bill is actually passed by the legislature. I am optimistic that we should have something in the next, hopefully 10 days, and we will know exactly what our MAEP allocation is this year. And looking at and doing just a comparison from July of 2019 to compare to July of 2020, we were about $585,000 less than this time last year. So we were still able, of course, with our cash that we had on hand to take care of July. And looking at the projections, if we follow the same line for August and working with my team, we still should be on the same projection to be able to make sure we are adequately funded for all of the August expenses. But again, we will hopefully be scheduling a finance committee meeting in the next week or so to not only update you on the final MAEP, but also all things related to finance and closing out the 2019-2020 school year.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Board members, are there any questions of Ms. Miller? There being none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda finance?
So moved.
Second.
Dr. Harrison has moved, Ms. Hilliard has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? There being none, the consent agenda items finance is approved. Thank you. Next, board members, we have the consent agenda items general. All of these items have been reviewed by the board previously. We've had an opportunity to ask questions of the administration. Are there any further questions? If not, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda general?
I so move.
Second.
Ms. Hilliard has moved. Dr. Harrison has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? There being none, the motion is approved. Now, board members, we have the consent agenda items personnel. All of these items have been reviewed by the board previously. We've had an opportunity to ask questions of the administration. Are there any further questions? If not, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda personnel?
So moved.
Second.
Dr. Sivak has moved. Ms. Hilliard has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? There being none, the motion is approved. Now, board members, we've come to other business. Is there any other business? Is there a consideration to hold an executive session?
Not that I'm aware of.
Thank you, Attorney Turner. Board members, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I second.
Dr. Harrison has moved. Ms. Hilliard has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? There being none, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Great meeting.
Thank you, board members. I thought, President Johnson, I thought you were going to struggle to get a motion to adjourn.
I was like, obviously, we need more time together.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what it is. That's what it is.